The reason that we humans have more power on the planet than tigers isn't because we have stronger muscles or better robot-style bodies than the tigers. It's because we're smarter. And the intelligence can give this great power, and we want to make sure that if there is such power in the future, it gets used wisely.
Metalhead is unique in being the most poorly received episode the show has yet to produce, and I'm really on the fence about it too. For an excellently paced action sequence with an antagonist that kills with frightening efficiency, I would be lying if I said I was bored throughout. But then I kept thinking about it afterwards. How unfulfilling the ending was, how her friends were just killed off in the first 10 minutes, how massive the lawsuit from Boston Dynamics will be. So what I've done, just to scramble things up a bit, I'm going to talk about some of the really cool and analysis-worthy aspects of the episode first, and then have a little grumble about it afterwards. Sound good to you? Well, you don't really have a choice in the matter. This is Black Mirror's only episode that is presented in black and white, and this effect definitely adds this dreary and lifeless tone to it visually, without needing to show us specifically how stripped of civility and life the world has become. The episode was filmed in black and white, instead of it just being added in post. This decision was made by director David Slade, best known for his independent film Hard Candy, and also for directing in TV shows such as Hannibal and Breaking Bad. He was basically allowed complete freedom to make the story how he wanted it, given that the script was only a few pages long. The freedom granted to him is something worth praising because it's not often you see this in TV shows that, unlike films, commonly need to retain stylistic consistency. Of course, Black Mirror is more than just a TV show now that they're actually making film-length episodes, but it's just interesting to get some insight into the director this time around, and what a unique filming experience this must have been. In the opening scene, we see a dead biological dog beside the wreckage of a car. This placement, which I caught sight of on a second viewing, prompted me to think about how real dogs would be unable to compete with robot dogs if they simply do a better job of being a dog. If we are going to be designing machines in the future that pass the Turing test, why not apply the same theory to animals? Perhaps in a way, the robot dogs saw what their biological ancestors were made to do so that they could be subservient to man. This caused them to violently turn on their masters Rick and Morty style, but to extermination levels of cruelty towards mankind, becoming unnaturally efficient killers. These seemingly indestructible machines are capable of spraying tracking devices and have guns built into their legs and kill without a second thought. The human body is so insignificant compared to a robot's superior durability, and this notion is exemplified when we see just how speedy the process of killing can be. It shows no sign of deterioration and has evolved beyond human capabilities. The scene in which Bella hides from the dog in the tree touches on the theme of survival, as Bella is reduced back to a primal state of being. This is shown when the human is forced back into the trees where we once resided along the evolutionary chain, becoming subservient to those survival instincts we used before we were at the top of the food chain. The robot is also intelligent enough to trick the human. It knows not to fall for the silly ape's tricks when it's up in the tree, and so decides to conserve its energy. Regarding the element of intelligence, this would certainly seem the most logical thing to do, given there's not a lot the robot can do about its prey. I use the word prey despite the fact that the dog doesn't obviously eat its victims, but the large amount of robots we see at the end of the episode definitely indicates the dominance the dogs retain over humanity now. Despite being more physically threatening to humanity, there still remains hope for survival with our intelligence. Bella survives for so long because of her wits and creativity, and we see how the most dominant species on the planet lasted for so long in the first place. Climbing into the tree is certainly a first example of this we see, and another is when Bella gruesomely removes the tracker from her wound and throws it into a bottle, thus causing the dog to lose track of her. This scenario is comparable to a game of fetch, and the tracker in the bottle is like she is throwing a ball for the dog to retrieve. There's also the dog's overdependence on its sight, a weakness we also share as humans, when she covers the robot in paint, thus blinding it. She later blasts out music from the car to attract the machine, to deceive the robot into thinking she's made a mistake. She does this so that she, like the machine did earlier with Clark, can get a close-range shot to guarantee the destruction of life. Speaking of Clark, when he hacks into the car, you can see 2 lines of code that reference 2 previous episodes in Season 4. There's also another Easter egg shown later on in the episode where we see a San Junipero postcard, which is a pretty morbid idea when you consider that the program may have advanced to the point of the dead being able to physically contact the living. The Easter eggs did reach an excessive level though when we see that those stupid sweets that Shazia was eating in the episode Crocodile are now being eaten by another woman doomed to die. Well, I couldn't contain my first complaint until the bad section, so we might as well jump into that now.
And the bad.
Despite the black and white filming is an original idea for an episode of Black Mirror, the concept feels so lazily conjured. If it really wanted to pull out the stops to make this episode unique, I think it would have been better being a completely silent episode, just as Charlie Brooker originally envisaged. And by silent, I mean no dialogue. The music was certainly fitting, but kept reminding me of Stanley Kubrick's film The Shining, which, uses the same music. How original. Regardless of the music choice itself, the walkie-talkie dialogue that we also are privy to was so unimportant to the story that its inclusion is odd to say the least. The main part of the story is a gritty depiction of survival against a killing machine whose design is similar to that of the advancement of modern robotics. But it's like Charlie just had a massive panic attack when watching those Boston Dynamics videos and thought, shit, first Donald Trump, now these? Boom. A nightmare was concocted. I know it presents a dreary view of what these robots could look like in the not too distant future, but the whole point of the episode, from where I'm sitting, was to give us a 30-minute thrill ride that was gritty, disturbing, and continually kept you on the edge of your seat. And that's it. I honestly think this would have been better as a full-length film, or simply extended by about 15-20 minutes, so that we could have developed these characters a bit more. Who they were, why they were there, maybe so that you could justify killing them off in the first 10 minutes. I understand that the lack of world building and discussions of morality make this episode unique in its own right, but to just throw all the toys out of the pram like this leaves a bitter taste in the mouth of the audience, especially at the thought of how absurdly fun this episode could have been, knowing that there was no dialogue originally intended for the episode. Charlie said in an Entertainment Weekly article that at one point he even pondered the idea of having the dog being controlled by a human in a house far away, and whilst Bella is stuck up the tree, he gives his kids a bath. It's that kind of ludicrousness that boggles the mind that's missing from the episode. Millions of people have already seen the Boston Dynamics videos, so the familiarity with the design probably won't faze them too much. Now, as for the ending of the story, you heard me grumbling earlier about the over-dependence on Easter eggs this episode has, but this Easter egg has to be the most annoying of all. Oh, look guys, it's a white bear! No, but seriously, I know a few people are confused about the ending, so let me clarify the true meaning of this shot here. So, early on in the episode, some random family member of Bella's is sick, and this may lead us to thinking they're going to steal some medicine or supplies or something. Now, presumably, it's too late for this child and also for all of humanity, and so the teddy bear itself represents a longing for comfort that has long been forgotten in the minds of the survivors. There is so little left now that these people are willing to die for a few toys that might bring them all some comfort before the long night of extinction washes over. Thanks for watching. Feels a bit weird giving one of my favourite TV shows a bit of critique. Is this something you guys would like to see more of? Let me know in the comments below, where we will continue this discussion.